It's 8.5a. It's our first TEK we're going to be working on, and it is atomic structure. Describe the structure of atoms, including masses, charges, and locations of protons and neutrons in the nucleus and electrons in the electron cloud. So you can kind of see that up here if you're looking at a lithium model. If you want to look at your periodic table where you kind of follow along with my mouse here, you can see lithium would be right here. You know, you can't really tell too much, but this is kind of what it looks like from a Bohr diagram. You can see the nucleus here. You've got your protons and neutrons in the nucleus and your electrons on the outside in the electron cloud. Okay, so let's roll down. And again, this is a model of lithium. No, it's not. This is going to be beryllium. Model of beryllium. Understanding atoms. Everything you can see, touch, it's all atoms. Chair you're sitting in, the pencil or pen you're holding, the desk or table that you're at, your hair, you, the computer you're using, everything's broken up into atoms. And they make up everything. And so they're super small, and you're going to have access to this PowerPoint. And when you click on this image and you kind of click this little button here and you drag it, you'll be able to drag it to the right. You're going to be able to see the size of an atom. This is the size of a coffee bean, grain of rice, and it just gets smaller and smaller. It'll even show you bacteria and viruses, maybe like a virus that we all know and love that's going around the world right now. But let's keep looking here. Elements. There's only about 100 different types of atoms found in nature. Each type of atom is called an element. They make up all the matter around you. Check out periodic table. You're going to have resources. You're going to have a periodic table that you will be using a lot for the next few weeks. So make sure you know how to look at your periodic table. We will learn more about that later. When you first learn about atoms, they are most often represented by spheres, but they really look, you know, kind of a lot like a sphere, as you can see in the diagram here. Even though there's over 100 different types of atoms, every atom is made up of 3 subatomic particles. That's just a fancy way of saying 3 particles. Neutrons, protons, electrons. Those 3 things make up atoms. Know them, love them, know where they are. It's going to be your responsibility to know their location and their charges. Neutrons, protons in the nucleus, and electrons around the outside. Okay. The group of particles in the middle, again, the nucleus. The nucleus is made up of the protons and the neutrons, and that's where the mass of the atom comes from. Protons have a positive charge. Protons are positive. The entire nucleus has a positive charge because it contains the protons. And protons and neutrons have about the same mass, which is 1 AMU. So 1 proton would be 1 AMU. 2 protons would be 2 AMU. If your nucleus has 4 protons and 3 neutrons, 3 plus 4, your mass of your atom would be 7 AMU. One way students get confused is they think that neutrons are negatively charged, which is not true. Neutrons are neutral. Neutrons are neutral. They almost sound exactly the same. Neutrons, and almost spelled exactly the same. Neutrons are neutral. That means they have no charge. That is wildly important that you remember that. Electrons are found around the outside in the electron clouds, also called the orbital, the energy shell. But they are practically weightless. They do have a very, very, very minuscule amount of mass, but not enough to where we record their mass as part, or where we count them when we're looking at the mass of an atom. We don't pay any mind to electrons. We really only focus on the protons and the neutrons when we're trying to decide what the mass of an atom is. But just so you know, really most of the volume of an atom is made up of empty space. So I want to just paint a little picture for you really quickly. I'm going to kind of go out in your imagination for a moment. If you were to take a marble and take that marble and put it at the 50-yard line, dead center at Cowboy Stadium, that's about the size of the nucleus of an atom. And everything else in Cowboy Stadium would be empty space. There'd be a few electrons flying around. That's huge, right? That's huge. So it just kind of shows you the size and how small a scale that nucleus is, but how dense it has to be for all your mass to come from that single marble on the 50-yard line. That's crazy, but it's true. So when you call somebody an airhead, it's actually scientifically true that we are all airheads, because we are made up of atoms, and atoms are mostly made up of empty space. Interesting fun fact, my fellow airheads. Anyway, great candy, by the way, but I digress. Electrons are negative, so we have positive protons, neutral neutrons, and negatively charged electrons. Make sure you're taking notes on this stuff. Super important. Have that in your journal. So atoms have the same number of protons and electrons. So answer my question really quickly. If my atom has 3 protons, how many electrons does it have? Say it out loud. How many? That's correct, 3. So once again, atoms have the same number of protons. If my atom has 14 protons, it has 14 electrons. Nice job. The charges of these two particles cancel each other out. We'll talk about charges a little bit later, but I just want you to understand the basics today. And the identity of the atom is determined by the number of protons in its atoms. So look at our lithium here. If you scroll all the way back, and I'm doing that right now, to the very first slide, where we have the model of the lithium atom. Look at protons. There are 3. So that means 3 electrons. That also means its atomic number is 3. Yeah. So go ahead and chew on that a little bit. We're going to deep dive a little bit more. I'm going to give you a lot of practice on this, but today was just a quick explanation of the structure of atoms. That's it. Talk to you guys soon.